Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovias inside the Uford Studios, downtown Raleigh, thanks to Empire Properties. Back in my comfortable cocoon, Joe.
We're here.
Not freezing.
Thanks to Greg Hayden, Empire Eats.
Also, big thanks to Copiers Plus for sponsoring Ovias and Giglio. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Everybody's looking to save money. I know I am. As a small to medium-sized business, the easiest way to save money is to look at those print costs. It's a hidden cost you might not realize at the end that can save you a lot of money if you get it done right, and that's what Copiers Plus can do. So get that print assessment, that document management assessment at copiers-plus.com. All right, so Canes on pace, undefeated season. Let's go.
The record in October. It's pretty ridiculous.
It's a lot different than where it used to be, where we always blamed the fair trip as the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. Remember
the slow starts?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, always an issue.
What's funny about the Canes opener last night is that when they turn it on, dude, it's pretty incredible to watch. First period was kind of shoulder shruggy. You don't want to give up the first goal. It's fine, whatever. But when the third period and when it comes down to putting the hammer down, when the Canes do that, man, I can see why other teams don't like playing the Canes and why it ended a little chippy on the way out, where Jordan Staal had to be all up in Tkachuk's face being like, yeah, dude. And of course, shout out to the Canes social media account that was like referring to Jordan Staal as daddy in relation to Tkachuk. But the other big takeaway I had from last night, because you were there last night, I went home. I was going to go to PNC Arena. I went to an Enlo concert band performance at 6:00, and my intention was to go to the arena to watch because I knew it was going to be a late start because of the intros and all that stuff. But dude, once I put the comfy pants on, I wasn't leaving the couch. It was a wrap. So I got our first Bally Sports Plus experience. Which
nice. How'd it go?
We charged to the company account because we can do that now.
Beautiful.
It was fine. It was fun to watch Mike and Tripp. But my other takeaway from the game last night, Joe, I don't know about yours, is just that Dmitry Orlov with that hip check shows you what they added in having a little, what's the term, sandpaper, get a little tougher. Same with Bunting, who did score last night. They're just a little additions to give them a little bit more of an edge based on what we've seen already, which is a great defense that can suffocate you. And again, when they turn it on, man, it's pretty fun to watch.
And once again, we never talk enough about the Canes defense.
No, we never do.
And how they contribute. We get fixated and totally guilty as charged with Sebastian Aho. Is he their best player? Can you win a Stanley Cup with him? Andrei Svechnikov, is he going to take the next step? We love to go through the forwards and talk about what are they going to do. The truth of the matter is this team is built to win with their defense. Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is, we saw this last year with Brady Shea, who scored a big goal last night.
The defense scored a ton of goals last year.
The defense contributes on that end of the ice. And it's not just let's go see what Connor McDavid can do tonight. It's a completely different philosophy. Mm-hmm. It is more in line of what Colorado used 2 years ago to win the Stanley Cup. And I know that's the template that Tom Dundon is after. I know that's the template that Rod Brindamore is after, because it's one that he believed in when he was the captain of the team. And it was one that he believed in when he saw his fourth line teammates, Kevin Adams, and all of the other guys who totally unsung contribute on a night in and a night out basis. And that's what he believes in. That's part of the process that he believes in. First period is probably not the process that he believes in.
No.
I like that he tipped his hat to Ottawa, though, because I thought Ottawa was the aggressor in the first period of that game. I like the way that Ottawa played that game. Shouts to Brad Frisch, big Ottawa fan. I was able to go down and talk to him.
Now he's back to being a Canes fan. Now,
and he said, I didn't realize Ottawa was a cap team.
Yeah.
So they only dressed 19 guys last night. So interesting kind of a wrinkle thinking about where the NHL is when Ottawa, which I got to believe is the smallest market, is a cap team. So, you got everyone out there. And I think this is also follows up our conversation about Stanley Cup favorites. I don't think there's a big difference in the NHL between teams 1 and 30.
For the most part, no.
32. It's just not how it is. So I look at this and I go, good for the Canes. You start the right way, but it always goes back to me with their defense. And adding Orlov is just like luxury on luxury on luxury.
You saw it last night. And then even in the captain, Jordan Staal, what is Jordan Staal ultimately known for? The dude's a horse. Yeah. And he's one of the better defensive forwards that are out there.
Yeah.
And last night, the whole theme of the Canes season this year is creating chaos, right? And Rod Brindamore after the game with the goal siren because he's cursing and all that stuff. I guess they got some like chaos shirt they're giving out to people. And of course, the first thing they do is they give it to the captain, Jordan Stahl.
Last year we had the C5 shirts for guys that earned it. And I got a new one here this year. And I love it because it's got on it's a little chaos, right? It's got a little, obviously the Hurricane emblem. And that's what we got to do here. We got to grind and we got to create that chaos every night. This is obviously, to me, tonight, the guy that is our man right there.
So they give the shirt to Jordan.
Okay, it's good day one. Day one, finish up with Billy. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
And off they go on their road trip.
Finish up with Billy. Do those Kaiser chops.
It just never ends after the game. It really never ends. Although what's funny is we were talking about random chaos generators that are the playoffs, and that's ultimately what the Canes find themselves in. The NHL is known for this. Although, based on the results this week, I'm starting to think that the Major League Baseball and their postseason format is trying to take that title away from the NHL in terms of what creates the maximum amount of chaos in the postseason. We've now had 3 teams with really good freaking records get knocked out of this wild card round. The Baltimore Orioles got knocked out. By the way, the Orioles are a team. I knew they didn't lose a regular season series this year, and then they got their ass swept, and it was just complete meltdown in pitching. I did not realize they had gone all the way back to May of 2022 and having not lost a regular season series. That's incredible. But what does that get you? Zilch. The Dodgers out. That's 2 years in a row with one of the best records in baseball. 2 years in a row out. And then of course you've got the it was in the pandemic seasons when the Dodgers managed to do it, but the Dodgers have had this tendency to have really great seasons and then get knocked the hell out. And then the Braves find themselves on the verge because the Phillies have decided to wake up again. Of course, some of that was poking the bear of Bryce Harper with the whole attaboy thing the night before. Bryce Harper shows out. And that's what I love about sports, by the way. Oh, you're going to have some fun at my expense. You're going to poke me. All right, well, then there's one way to solve this problem. I can just stick it in your eye with a couple of bombs and walk out of there and put you guys on the brink. But that's kind of where we're at right now. It's funny that the Baltimore Orioles this week talked about how nothing happened in this getting swept that takes away from an overall great season. And I can't disagree with that. Orioles don't find themselves in this position very often. It was a hell of a regular season for them. They won the AL East. They were a hell of a lot of fun. People are hyped about their youth, but then they get knocked out and people are like, why? This is just sports now, man. Regular season's almost meaningless if you don't punch it through in the postseason.
You just said the Dodgers won in the pandemic year.
Yeah.
The pandemic year was a full bracket of 7-game series.
It was.
I guarantee you baseball will switch their division series to 7 games. I guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
Guarantee it.
It has to, because something's got to change because this keeps happening. Now, mind you, this postseason format is relatively new in the grand scheme of baseball.
They've been tweaking.
And they can tweak it.
They got rid of the one-off and the wild card. Yep. I like what they did with the wild card.
Which I'm glad they got rid of the one-off because that's not baseball today.
No, it's not.
This is not the NCAA tournament where you're one and done, man. It's baseball. You play series all free. That's what you do.
Every week.
Everything is a series. So play a freaking series in the post game.
Yeah, it doesn't. I guess they were thinking they were saving pitching and lining it up better for the CS Championship Series, but guarantee you that gets used. Shouts to the Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
I am in full parent mode now. They celebrated by jumping into the pool in the outfield.
Yeah,
and all I can think about was as like the dad who potentially owns the pool. The players jumping into the pool with their spikes on.
You thinking liabilities?
No, there's just no way that they didn't just tear the shit out of the bottom of that pool with their spikes.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to have to replace that pool, sir.
I
know they have a couple dollars laying around.
Last time I checked, baseball teams make a lot of money.
Okay.
So I think they're good for it.
But I would have been like, hey guys, can you take your shoes off, please, before you jump in the pool? Or your spikes at least.
Hopefully there's not some sort of GoFundMe for that. Because remember Tennessee, right?
Football, yeah.
And we saw this at Tennessee. This is an SEC football team, which has all the money in the world, licensed to print money, was actually doing a GoFundMe when, 2 of their goalposts were torn down, and that cost like $20,000, whatever it is. Man, Tennessee's good for it. Why are you asking your fans to do that? No, it was a
fine because the SEC fines the school.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
They're good for it. They're good for the cash. I'm not really worried about them.
Housekeeping.
We got some podcasts out this week. New walkthrough with Young Gun, podcast about Bryce Young with Dimitri Ravanos and Lauren Brownlow. Brownlow's going to drop by in just a little bit. We also have a new Law of the Wolf with our guy JC.
We do. Talking a little bit about Jonathan Paler, their big star recruit. Talking a little bit about what happened with Peyton Wilson and Brendan Armstrong this week. It was a good conversation with JC, the Wolfpack Central. Check him out.
And we also have a new Picks and Pizza, right?
We do. Anthony made his picks. We'll get Josh's today. I'll have that up this afternoon.
And I'll be headed out doing a 919 Vice podcast later today. We're going out to the Blind Pelican where they have probably the most ridiculous Bloody Mary you've ever seen.
Yes, I've been waiting for you guys to tackle this. So this will be good.
I'm not a Bloody Mary guy.
And there's like a cheeseburger and
ridiculous.
crab legs and
yeah, there's a lot going
shrimp.
on. There's a lot going on with this.
It's like
with
a
this Bloody
platter.
Mary. And also, thanks to our friends over at WUNC, North Carolina's public radio. They've got a new podcast called The Broadside. It's Thursday. They got a new episode every Thursday. So wherever you get your podcast, go check it out. Again, it's called The Broadside and explores news, history, pop culture stories rooted in the American South. And each week, the show goes beyond the headlines and explores a single topic impacting the region. So The Broadside, your source for Carolina news and culture stories that might not be on the front page, but definitely deserve a deeper look. Go ahead, follow, listen to new episodes of The Broadside every Thursday, wherever you get your podcast. I'm going to be headed over to Wings Over on Friday to go get like 50 wings, waffle fries, and all that stuff. Just
Open
the whole
for lunch.
spread. Very excited about that. You can go check them out. Every time we talk about college football, it's brought to you by Wings Over, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Greenville, and yes, most importantly, Joe, open for lunch in downtown Raleigh.
Now open for lunch over at NC State, right there across from UT. Free parking. So order online, wingsover.com. Go park for free. Pick up your food. Tell Ryan, hey, man, the OG sent me.
Also, big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Check them out online at bugsbite.com. Mosquito Authority came out to my place last week. Again, customer service is a huge plus. It's not just showing up, giving the treatment, and getting out of there for the next job. It's ringing the doorbell, asking you, what is an area of concern? What should we be looking at? Where do you need this mosquito treatment? And you just tell them, and they're good to go. That's Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority.
Hayes Lancaster is the OG. So go to bugsbite.com. Punch in your zip code. You'll see all kinds of savings because word is bond, man. They don't believe in contracts, but they got all kinds of deals and ways for you to save money for all of your home treatments, bugs inside the house, bugs outside the house. Get rid of all those critters. Go to bugsbite.com.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, Kyle Bailey, WFNZ does afternoons. And Kyle, A, what's up? B, look, man, I don't think anybody really expected the Carolina Panthers to have an overwhelmingly great season, maybe flirt with making the playoffs. Nobody expected this dumpster fire 5 weeks in, right? Nobody expected this.
No, that's their problem. Messaging and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, by the way, gentlemen. But yeah, I don't think they did a great job of setting expectations or messaging, especially if they felt like this was going to be a tough year. Now, I don't think they did. And I've talked about this week, and you've probably seen the video circulating where you can go back, a long time ago to many, many months ago, where the general manager said, hey, me and the assistant GM went through the roster from last year and this year side by side, and we've concluded that this year's roster is as good or better at every position except for one, and therefore we believe we should be contending for the division this year, even with, yes, a rookie quarterback. So there were those that were skeptics, no doubt. I had him basically at 500 because why not? I thought the division was terrible. But this is objectively awful and unwatchable and probably bad enough that somebody's going to get fired. But who knows if that's coming? I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, everything about it's terrible, and they can't honestly say they expected this.
Aha! Let's get right there. Let's start with Frank Reich. I mean, it's entirely possible he doesn't make it to season 2. If they go 0-17, which is on the table based on what we've seen so far. Buddy, it's on the freaking table, man.
It's such a long way, and
Dude,
I keep telling
I'm with
at some point and win a game.
Okay,
I'm with Gilio on this one. Gilio's right. They're going to win a game or two.
All right, the chances of Frank Reich being fired after one season, where would you put them?
Higher than they used to be.
Okay.
But just look, we've seen it happen. The Texans did it twice. Nathaniel Hackett got chopped. We saw Jim Tom Sula get pink slip, not that. So I mean, there have been plenty of examples of this.
Yeah.
So is it possible? Sure. If they were to go winless, you have to fire the guy.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you have a choice. But, if they win a handful of games, you're probably looking at some point a change in the front office and a mandate to Frank next year. I better see serious improvement, and I better see it quickly or you're gone. So I think that's probably the most likely thing that happens.
Okay, so Scott Fitterer, where is he on the hot seat scale right now? I mean, they get to the bye week. They get to the bye week winless. Something's got to give, right?
Oh, I think he's if you feel like you need to fire someone, if you're David Tepper, that's the guy you're firing. And look, I've been begging them kind of tongue in cheek, but I'd really like to know, like, who's the last Matt Rule decision that we can just draw the line from Matt Rule and then we start evaluating Scott Fitterer. And I begged David Tepper, I was like, leak it to one of the writers. It doesn't have to be me or anybody. Just leak it to somebody. So we know. But the thing is, you can't look at this roster and feel like they've done a good job. Now, I think they've got some good players on it, but they have no depth. And that was a concern coming into the season. And not only is it what we feared it could be, look at Houston. Like, they're starting over with a rookie quarterback. They've been suffering injuries. Their whole entire offensive line went down 2 weeks ago, and they didn't give up a sack. And, I understand that the interior of the offensive line for Carolina has been, nicked up for sure, but they still have both starting tackles and their starting center. Like, you'd think that if Houston can do what they're doing, they'd be able to get by a bit better here in Carolina. So, up and down the roster, it's hard to point to many wins for Scott Fitterer. Frankie Louvu was a really solid piece of pro scouting. He's a really good player and a guy I'm sure they'd like to keep around. They get credit for that. I think Sam Franklin's been a good guy, to have as a depth piece and on special teams. But in so many other places, they're just not good enough. And that's the general manager's fault. So, pardon me. I think he's the first and most likely to go.
Where were you during the draft process on Bryce Young, and where are you now after 5 games on Bryce Young?
So I like C.J. Stroud a lot in the beginning. I was one of those that felt like he might be more prototypically, Frank Reich's type of guy. Mm-hmm. And then I started to realize that they were turning more toward Bryce Young. And I did like Bryce. And then I learned things about Bryce that I wasn't quite aware of. And I went back and rewatched him. And, I do believe still that Bryce Young can be a very good NFL quarterback. I think that David Tepper, you've seen the other video of David Tepper back in the spring saying that, he's a point guard. So, we could probably save some money at the wide receiver position. And I don't know that enough was made of that back then. In fact, I know it now. And you're looking at the offensive line room or the wide receiver room, and you're like, oh, that was his plan kind of all along. Adam Thielen was brought in here, and there were some people saying, well, you got your number one wide receiver, and the rest of us like, whoa, that's a terrible idea. Like, what?
I mean, to be fair to Adam Thielen, he's been okay.
He's been good. He's been good. But if you're a good football team, when he's 33 years old, you need him to be your number 2 or 3 option.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I thought the signing of Adam Thielen was great for a rookie quarterback. I love that he's here, right? But you see that philosophy that David Tepper kind of snuck into a soundbite back in April playing out on the field. Terrace Marshall Jr., who they forgot about Sunday, was a big part of their plans coming in. DJ Chark, a guy who does have talent, but they knew he couldn't stay healthy when they brought him in. Well, he missed the first game, and he's dealt with some injuries, and he hasn't been spectacular by any means. And Jonathan Mingo, I think he could be a good player, but they could have taken Tank Dell in the 3rd round like Houston did, and Tank Dell's running wild all over defenses right now. So they don't have a great wide receiver room. They brought Hayden Hurst in here to be the pass-catching tight end, and then they run pocket screens for Ian Thomas, the blocking tight end.
Like, what is that?
And so you just don't know what they're doing or why they're doing these things. And so I circling back to the point, how am I supposed to properly evaluate Bryce Young when the head coach is doing all sorts of things that don't make sense and everybody sees it?
No, I'm in total agreement with you on that. But we're also getting the sense that Frank Reich didn't want Bryce Young to begin with.
I don't think so.
And it's starting to look more and more like these David Tepper decisions are the things that are coming home to roost, which gets back to Frank Reich and whether or not he'll survive the year. Look, there's a fine line, Cal, between transparency and honesty. Him talking about Terrace Marshall, like, yeah, that's on me. I should have gotten him in the play, XYZ. I saw that from the press conference this week. But the thing that finally got the Panthers to go national in terms of conversation was this, like, really unforced error in talking about David Tepper and the relationship, where he caught himself in real time Like, yeah, man, these meetings suck. And nobody likes meetings. I get that. I hate meetings. Joe hates meetings. We all hate performative meetings. But you can't say that out loud while the owner is watching and then catch yourself going, I mean, they're challenged, but they're very productive. Very, very, very productive. I just felt like they're not fun. Watching it in real time. I'm just thinking to myself, dude, that's an unforced error that can get you out of here pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, but it's nothing that people don't already know.
Yeah,
that's the thing is that we know he's domineering. We know he's aggressive. We know he wants to be in the room talking about these things because, I mean, this is the Michael Jordan of Wall Street we're talking about, like David Tepper, who, by the way, has seen his net worth double since he bought this football team several years ago.
Good for him. That's the beauty of football ownership. You can suck and still find it that, you know what, I'm going to make some money when it's all said and done. I love that about sports.
We just had a great send-off for Michael Jordan a couple of months ago. So he did that too.
You say David Tepper's the Michael Jordan of the financial war, but you know what? Michael Jordan, as it's kind of playing out, might be a better owner than David Tepper at this point.
Well, I mean, David Tepper's won nothing to this point. Now, he's heavy-handed in personnel decisions, much more so than he probably should be. As someone – I don't know how you feel about this. I don't know if I'm talking to wrestling fans or not. I am not, but I got the analogy someone gave me the other day. They called him the Tony Khan of football owners because he's just a rich guy, billionaire playing with human.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Kyle, you back? Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Okay. I should have put it in airplane mode, but
it's fine.
No. I mean, David Tepper, to go back to what you said a minute ago, I believe the national media running wild with this Frank didn't want Bryce Young narrative is wrong. I don't believe that. I think that has caught on like wildfire, but, I feel very comfortable with the conversations I had over there with key decision makers. And I've never gotten one iota of a sense that, Frank vehemently did not want Bryce Young. David Tepper, though, those meetings, he wants answers. And I'll be honest with you. I came in the Monday after the very first preseason game, and I'm sure you two talked about it then, but that first preseason game was kind of a letdown, right? And I came in on Monday, and I said, listen, I'm never going to do the thing where I overreact to a preseason game. But after all this hype, after spending all this money on these former quarterbacks, these proven offensive gurus to get that, after all this, I was like, if I'm David Tepper, I'm a little irritated today, right? And my understanding is he's just grown more and more irritated ever since that day because it hasn't gotten better. And he spent a lot of money, and he's now presiding over 5 going on 6 straight years of no playoff football, and fans are checking out. They're finally, yelling at him. He's in the crosshairs of the national media, and so he's really starting to feel it. And Frank is bearing the brunt of that right now, much of his own doing. But, David Tepper wants answers.
What do you consider like your best strength, Kyle?
Me?
You almost got to do a spit take there. Like, wait a minute.
Like you got here, right? Like you got here. You want me to go first?
Yes, please. Give me an example.
I'm good at asking questions, and I'm good with people. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, imagine.
I'm good at relationships. I'm good at forming relationships.
Yeah. Like, let's try to relate to David Tepper right now because this is where it struck me. I'm watching the 49ers. It's 2 weeks ago. Not the Dallas blowout, but it was 2 weeks ago. I'm watching the 49ers, and they're talking about how quickly Brock Purdy processes everything. Yeah. And they brought it up because this is going on Bryce Young's epitaph, okay? Professional football epitaph. He scored great on the 10s plus, whatever the video game test was, right? But the reason they took him, Bryce Young, is because Brock Purdy had like a perfect score on this thing. So the Niners took him with the last possible pick. Kyle, do you know what the last possible pick in the NFL draft is by very definition? It is a distressed asset. And all I know about David Tepper and how he got here is what I've learned on Wikipedia. Because I don't know shit about the stock market. I don't know shit about what he does, other than it says he made his hedge fund money on distressed assets. Yeah. Why on earth, if you and I are good at relationships or you and I are good at questions, let's go try to make money in another field by doing what we're good at. He's now in a new field trying to make money at something he has no clue what he's good at. He sure as shit doesn't know anything about football and personnel. And now he's trying to apply, like, I'm going to go get the number 1 overall pick. Kyle, do you know it's not a distressed asset?
The number 1 overall pick.
Overall freaking pick of the draft.
Yeah, but it's valuable.
There, Kyle.
It's shiny.
Wow.
But it's valuable.
It's called radio banter. That's radio banter. That's what that is.
But tell me where this guy is not seeing the forest from the trees. Like, you made your money a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Florida State.
Well, he
Stop whining.
No, he got football osmosis with the Steelers.
That's what
it was. Not bad.
But then he asked his wife.
Well, the thing is, that's also become a narrative on my show on the text line, especially. A lot of folks want to talk. I want to have a bigger conversation about Nicole Tepper's involvement in the decision making. Some going so far as to suggest that she picked Bryce because he was so adorable.
Well, look, to be fair, because this conversation can get sexist really quick. Okay,
of course it can.
I don't like that. I'll straight up say I do not like that. However, in the case of the messaging, which gets back to the front of our conversation, they were very adamant about Nicole Tepper's role in all of this stuff. So you do welcome questions about, well, wait a minute, who's ultimately making decisions? Are you making decisions based on football? Or are you making decisions based on, well, I like this person? Now, the two things can be true at once. You can like this person, they're also good at football, but it does open up those questions and who's ultimately making the decisions in Charlotte.
Yeah, so, I think that's a concern that people have.
It gets back to messaging as always.
No, of course. That's when I said what I said a second ago about that. I mean, it's not, it can get sexist, absolutely, but it's simply who's involved.
Yeah.
And why are they involved? What are their strengths? Why are they in these rooms where key decisions are being made? And look, you're right. If Nicole Tepper's an asset, awesome. That's great. Sure. That's unquestionably a good thing. But it's the first time that she's been involved, and overall the Tepper reign has been completely negative. And so, you can't point to any positives, and then you start asking all these questions. And the truth is, when things are bad, everything's bad. When things are bad, you can point to literally everything as a source of it, as the origin of why things are going wrong, as the reason that decisions aren't being made correctly. And unfortunately, she's being lumped into that. And, the extent of her involvement, don't know.
Kyle Bailey, WFNZ, joining us on the Heaster Automotive Hotline. Before we say goodbye, what's the dog's name? Does the dog have opinions?
That's Bo.
That's Bo?
That's Bo. But I think Bo needs let out right now. But Bo's a prima donna. It's raining here at Lake Norman, and he doesn't like to get wet. And so he needs to go out. Yet as soon as I take him to that door, he's going to turn and go back to the couch. So,
all right, man. Yeah. Well, go let the dog out, all right?
All right. Sounds good, fellas. Appreciate you.
What would you say my strength is, Joe?
You're an extra engineer, Joe. You're an extra engineer.
I would say my strength is putting people in a position to succeed, Joe.
Oh, okay.
And if that means being an extra engineer, so be it. So be it. Breeze Through helped us out yesterday. We were in the beer cave.
Oh, I got my wrong things on. What am I doing?
I don't know. You got the Breeze Through Freeze Through shirt on right now.
I got my shirt on.
Yeah, man. What else do you need?
Cups.
You got the cup, right?
Cups. We
got the lifetime refills. We got all that fun stuff over at Breeze Through. And they got a beer cave right across the way from PNC Arena, which
what a Wednesday, man.
By the way, I was
getting it done on a Wednesday.
I was cracking up. Yeah, it was busy, man. I was cracking up at the amount of people that had, like, speaking of chaos agents, maybe that's the theme of the show today. The amount of people are like, what is happening right now? Like, yeah, we're doing the show from a beer cave. Did Tom Dundon really walk across the street to do an interview in a beer cave? Yes.
Was that?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Which we'll get to in a second. Like JP, Josh over on Twitter. He's like, love the interview with Dundon, but I got to ask, when you told him where the interview was going to be, what's his response to that, and how do you sweet talk it? It didn't require any sweet talk.
No. Breeze Through, Freeze Crew.
They're there, man.
Sponsors, man. Tom knows how to take care of his people.
Yes. So we think we'll get to Tom Dundon here in a second because it ties into the conversation we were having with Kyle in relation to David Tepper. Also, big thanks to Butcher's Market for sponsoring Ovia's and Gilio. You got that tumbler ready to go.
Yeah, a little Turbis tumbler. They got everything over there, man. I'm not even joking. Such great stuff. It's kind of like when if you're good at picking one thing, you're usually pretty good at picking a bunch of other stuff that's going to complement all of those things.
Yeah.
Phew. Such a great job. Kenneth does a great job over there. The Butcher's Market, the home base. Falls on the Noose. Love it.
So go check them out.
Get the sandwiches, get the hot dogs. They make their own bacon. Like
the
what?
bacon's
Come
legit.
on.
The bacon is legit. So back to Dundon real quick, because there's people are trying to position, and I'm guilty of this, trying to position this as look how Dundon's doing it versus how David Tepper is doing it. And I asked Tom Dundon in the beer cave about that. Like, you're hands-on. This idea that he might not be hands-on is silly. He's absolutely hands-on. So I brought that up, and I thought his answer was pretty interesting. So kind of hands-on. What's your philosophy with that?
I want to make sure that whatever you think is right, we've thought through all the other choices. No different than where should we put a baseball team. I think I know, but I can't be sure until we do the work. I am knowledgeable enough to come up with a reason to do it another way.
Okay.
But hopefully I'm not so prideful that I would think just because I came up with another option, that's what you should do. Right. Okay. And so our group's really good at everybody talking about it and going through it and getting to a decision. And mostly because we have a coach who doesn't need to be right either. Right. But if you're asking a hockey question, you can ask me or him.
I'm going to ask Rod.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to argue with Rod about it.
So there is Tom Dundon from yesterday's show. And I think that's the key part. It's not like I'm not going to argue about it, but ultimately I'm going to lean on and trust the people that I put in position to know what's going on. And that's probably the biggest issue with the Carolina Panthers right now. It doesn't seem that the guy with a ton of money who wants to do things a different way is not trusting the football people he's hired to go ahead and make those decisions after they've had a spirited conversation. It ultimately comes down to, well, no, I want this guy and we're going to make this guy work whether you like it or not. And that's how we end up here.
Just to tie this whole thing together.
Yeah.
I think Tom is a spreadsheet guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting here telling you what the value, they put a number on each player.
Yeah, man.
And not just their own players.
Yeah.
Those are the players that they go out and get in addition that they think are undervalued. So there was big fictionalized Moneyball version of the movie, right? Like I'm seeing Brad Pitt, or you might be seeing Jonah Hill. I don't know what you see when you see Tom Dundon. I don't know which character he might be.
Yeah.
But there's Bill James. And that's how a lot of people who do business didn't understand why sports don't do sports like they do business. And that's to tie all this together in real time. When you are analytical and you can assign a number to something, which is what he's telling you he does.
When you asked him about Vegas odds and his response about
we have our own.
We have our own odds, but, and we value where we think we're going to go XYZ.
But that's all Bill James. That's all analytical. That's all. Here's a value. Here's what players in your position do. Here's what they produce, and here's what that production equals in terms of wins.
Which, real quick, that's what leads to some of the icier contract negotiations between the Carolina Hurricanes and their players, because they feel you're worth this. I don't care what the market says. You're worth this, and that leads to some issues.
Look at where Pesci is right now. Look at where Orlov is right now. We talked about this in the offseason when they re-sign players. They understand, but that's also how he does his business. There are numbers, there are solutions, as I love to tell my kids when they tell me, I don't understand math, I don't like math. You should love math because there's always an answer. And how many times in your life are you always going to be guaranteed an answer? You're not. So what Dundon has done is applied his own background to how he runs a team. And when you hear him be humble there and say, well, what do I know? That's what I'm talking about with Copiers Plus. Like, what do I know? I'm asking people who know. There is something to that, Joe. Because when your ego is so massive and you're sitting here thinking that you're the Michael Jordan of Wall Street. No, he's not. The real Michael Jordan of Wall Street is a guy who's got $1 gazillion who's not telling anybody that he's got $1 gazillion.
Right.
Okay?
Well,
so,
you mean those guys on TV telling me these real easy ways to make money are not real?
No. So he's applied, and he is also humble in the sense that he asks the right. Not only does he ask for help, he asks the right people for help. I'm not trying to deify Tom Dundon, but he made two really good choices in his coach and his general manager. And those are the two people that he is sitting here telling you. I asked them for the answers. Do you think David Tepper is asking Scott Fitterer? No. I'm not being sexist when I say about Nicole Tepper. I think he does ask his wife,
Sure.
hey, who did you like at dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Because in David Tepper's brain, Nicole Tepper is a great judge of character because he sat in front of her and he wooed her and got her. So he thinks, she's great at picking people because she picked me.
That is such big college football coach opening press conference when they get hired. Can you recruit? Well, look at my wife.
Right. But also, like, I'm going to get him. And hey, we all want to trust our wife and their judgment.
I know what you're saying.
But that doesn't mean she can make the number one pick in the draft.
You know, there's a flip side to that. It's like, I don't know. Can you trust her judgment? She did marry me. I mean, I've used that line plenty of times. Like, Kelly's really smart. Except this one time. However, hey, you know what? Jessica, really on the ball. But she married your ass, and you almost did a spit take there because you know I'm right. So the thing is, there's no right way to do it. And sometimes you get lucky with the people you have in place. This is going to transition
There's no right way to do it, but you have to trust who you are.
And you have to trust who you are, and you also have to hit on the people around you, which gets us to, and real quick, since we're talking about football, we're talking about the Carolina Panthers, and you want to talk about people who know what the hell they're doing?
Just go over to graffiti and you'll figure it out.
Wayne and the crew know bourbon. All right. You want good bourbon?
Not just bourbon.
They got good bourbon.
I love their setup.
They got great setup, and they have great mixed drinks too. But they got break even night on Tuesdays. And of course, they got bourbon specials on Sunday while you're watching the football, which honestly, you might need. But I don't know if the Carolina Hurricanes are as successful as they are without Rod Brindamore as the head coach and the culture that he's instilled. Okay. Which
you do know.
Probably not. Which then gets us to what's happening in New England. Because we finally hit a breaking point in New England with Bill Belichick. They have, I wrote this down the other day because this was the stuff that I scrapped from yesterday's show because things were chaotic energy, and I really enjoyed that. So we've now gone, 10 plus seasons without Tom Brady as the quarterback of the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick as head coach. In total.
Okay.
In total, right? And Bill Belichick's had double-digit wins 3 times without Tom Brady as the quarterback. All right. And it's looking like things are going to go out that way too. And Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, I can't imagine is going to let this hit rock bottom the way it looks like it's hitting rock bottom with the New England Patriots. And this is not to say that Bill Belichick's entire success is based on Tom Brady as the quarterback. It just means that what you do can look a hell of a lot better when you've got the right guy. And it's also entirely possible, too, for Tom Brady that you don't have this level of success without Bill Belichick as your head coach, and that some of the defenses that he was able to put together at the peak of their powers.
Sure.
Okay.
I think you mean in Bill Belichick's entire career. So we got to go back to Cleveland.
Go back to, right. In all the seasons of Bill, sorry, I didn't make that clear. In all the seasons in which Bill Belichick has been an NFL head coach.
Yes.
This is now the 11th season, I think, without Tom Brady as his quarterback. When you put it in totality,
yeah, including the 1 year where he tore his ACL. I think everyone counts that as a year that he didn't have Brady because they were 11-5 that year.
3 seasons. That was with the Matt Castle year.
Yes,
right. Matt Castle made so much money off that.
Yes, he did.
So that's 3 seasons with double-digit wins without Tom Brady.
Right. He has a losing record without Tom Brady as his quarterback.
Yes. So, but again. That's right. Not right place, right time, but it's basically a union that ends up working, which now gets to my next question. Bill Belichick's going to get fired. He's going to get fired. All right. The question is,
do you think so?
Yes, he's absolutely going to get fired. So here's the question. Does he take another NFL job, or is he done after this? Because there are going to be 3/4 of the league that would absolutely hire Bill Belichick. And then there's a handful of teams that will look at Bill Belichick and go, no, because you're going to want to do it a particular way that was clearly on fumes at the end with New England. And I don't want that to happen with my organization. Because if Bill Belichick's going to be a head coach in the NFL again, do you think he's going to give up personnel decisions? Do you think he's going to give up the idea of bringing his kid with him? So Bill Belichick almost has to have a reset in where he is. And I don't think he's capable of doing that.
71.
So I think he's done. Maybe he finally lives the dream.
Go coaches lacrosse.
Some D3 school for all I know, So I think he's going to get fired, man. At this rate. You don't think so?
I mean, he is living right now off of his own axiom, which is
do your job, right?
No, but future results. Your pay is not based on your previous performance.
Right. So
past performance does not equal future results.
So based on Bill Belichick's own standard,
he should be let go, yes, or traded.
He would fire himself,
or traded for a second and a third round pick, which he loves more than anything else in the history of the world.
I mean, look, man, the standard is the standard, and you have to hold yourself accountable. All that stuff. Bill Belichick would fire himself at this rate. So Robert Kraft probably has to go into those conversations and say, Bill, do you think this is working? Like, honestly, if you ask Bill Belichick, do you think this is working? Do you think he'd give an honest answer?
Yeah, I think he can.
I don't know, man. Sometimes you get 71, you're stubborn, and you're trying to prove some sort of point, which he lost, by the way. In the grand perception of things, he lost.
Get to 347.
Okay.
That's the number that stands out. And that's the record for wins in NFL history.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be reductive in the Brady Belichick thing. I've made the point before.
Oh yeah, I don't want to.
I've made the point before that Belichick is not a good coach without Tom Brady, but I don't think Tom Brady becomes. The two of them were a marriage together that worked together, and in part because Brady was willing to take less money, and in part because he was married to a supermodel, and in part because he had enough, right? And he was fueled by this, snub of being in the 6th round. But so I don't want to be like, oh, Belichick can't coach, or it was all Brady. It wasn't all Brady. It was a perfect.
It was a perfect union,
marriage.
Man. It really worked out.
And what Belichick did in the salary cap era is nearly impossible. Now that was made possible by Brady taking less money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's part of it.
Sure,
that's a big part of it. What you're seeing now is the evolution of the game. This all happens, right? One of the great things that always impressed people about Belichick is dad was a coach, and he had this unbelievable mind and memory when you used to have to collate plays on punch cards. Speaking of computers and spreadsheets before they existed, he knew how to collate the punch cards of the different formations and the different plays in such a way that it like burned in his memory that he was like a savant, if you will. When he was coaching for Parcells, he was like a savant. Okay. The game changes. The game evolves. We see Mike McDaniel. We see Kyle Shanahan. We see this younger wave coming in and building and changing and reacting. And at some point you get to 71 and you're like, well, I've always done it this way. How do you then accept the new wave?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. His answer to fixing his offense last year was big dick energy last year. I'm going to bring in Joe Judge, a special teams coach, and Matt Patricia, who used to be my defensive coordinator, and I'm going to let them call the plays. No, sir. And now he's so out of ideas that who did he go and get this year? Oh, I'm going to go back and get Bill O'Brien, who got run out of the league because he didn't pass him by.
This is why.
Did he go get Shane Steichen?
Nope.
Did he go get somebody who coached with McVay?
So 2 points.
No.
This is why Mike Krzyzewski will always get respect from me.
He changed
on a variety of levels.
He changed
because he
adapted.
He adapted.
Yeah.
He still stayed Mike Krzyzewski, but he said, okay, this is not working for me anymore. And there were some difficult conversations and some difficult seasons that went along with it. So yeah, I get it. Mike Krzyzewski, he's the Duke coach, unacceptable, blah, 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 blah. But you look at the totality of his career, not everybody's built like that dude who understands.
At the end, they would have to make a change.
They got to make a change.
Yep.
But I also respect Roy Williams in that regard too, because Roy said, man, I don't want to do it like this.
Right.
If I can't do it the way I want to do it, I'm out. So I respect that too. What I don't respect are guys like Bill Belichick who say one thing about standards and success and, always being the guy who sees the window. Oh, this guy's at
performance doesn't equal future
There's
results.
that peak part and like, oh, they've gotten rid of you.
Right.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, your value's gone.
Your value's gone. Like all that stuff, we're going to get rid of you, all that stuff. And people understood it. Bill Belichick is not living up to his own standard at this point, the way he's been coaching. And that's, to your point about getting younger and adapting, that's probably the biggest frustration point with David Tepper and the Carolina Panthers. Mr. Distressed Asset, basically looking at ways in which you can manipulate the market and make it win for you, has gone with the most cliche things possible. I went for the hot shot college coach that other teams wanted in Matt Rule. That blew up in my face.
They did want
And then he did the cliche, Well, the young guy from college didn't work. I know what I'm going to do. Give me a collection of veterans who know the game. And it's pretty clear that it's so conservative that you're looking at what's going on with Indianapolis. Now, mind you, Anthony Richardson's on injured reserve right now, but I think people are high on what Shane Steichen can do. Nick Sirianni, who is now at Philadelphia, which is, Frank Reich's old stomping grounds as an offensive coordinator. Look what they're doing.
Yeah,
with
these
Jalen
are all
Hurts.
guys who worked with Frank Reich and Doug Peterson.
So it's like, I'm going to go to the source. No. Go get the guys that are actually changing the game. And unfortunately, I don't know if David Tepper is capable of doing that.
I love to send you Mike McDaniel clips, by the way.
I know.
He's a vibe, man.
He really is a vibe. He's my guy. And you know what? He's holding on to his hair just like me. I respect that of that guy. Speaking of respect the value of your home, man. Don't take some sort of lowball guaranteed offer to walk away. Get the value of your house in a market that's like crazy right now. And that's why you got to go with Hometown Realty. Check them out online at myhtr.com.
Expertise from here to the coast, more than 6 locations, 250 agents. Barry Woodard and his crew, they've got you covered. They know how to buy, they know how to sell, they know how to help you rent. They also have that mortgage calculator on their website. It's myhtr.com. myhtr.com. Go check it out. You'll see just how easy it is to get help from the experts.
Also, big thanks to Whitaker and Hamer for sponsoring Ovias and Chili's. Go check them out online at wh.lawyer. Again, that's wh.lawyer. We got to get to Shady's soon, man. We got to do a live show from Shady's. I'd be down with that.
Even better, Tecmo Bowl Championship of the World.
I'm with it.
The Greater North American Tecmo Bowl Championship.
I'm with it. You're always looking for ways to get the raffles going. Entry fees?
Yeah.
A little pot of money to go to a winner?
They had a 50-50 last night at the Canes game. Once again,
I know,
I'll ask.
That's your jam. Like, you love a 50-50 raffle.
I will ask.
You love a 50-50 raffle, man. You really do. That Brownlow lady is hanging out with us in studio. What up, Lauren?
Hi.
You ready to do some premature evaluations?
Sure.
I feel like you were thrown off by the ask.
What? Well, just, the word choices. It's fine. I'm good. I'm good now.
Sometimes you get to a certain age, things have to be quick.
Got my... See, just when I get my maturity back.
When did you ever have it?
I don't. That's a good question.
All right.
I can fake it.
Let's go ahead and start with, I think, the marquee game of the week, the difference maker, Miami visiting North Carolina in Chapel Hill at night. There's a long history of the Hurricanes having some October horror stories against the Tar Heels.
This game is always hilarious. Looking back on it, I did a column for the Messenger this week, and I changed my column topic like 6 times over the weekend, I feel like. But basically, as Louisville was winning, I'm like, I have to write about that. I was going to write about Miami UNC before that because obviously 2 undefeateds, showdown, big deal.
Right.
Then as Miami was starting to lose the way it was losing, I then had to scrap the Louisville column I was writing, and I was like, okay, Miami's doing Miami stuff again because it was so frustrating to watch. I'm not one of those people that gets easily suckered in on Miami. And I still had my doubts. I did. I was still like, listen, I know they have given us no reason to think that they would screw up, but except for the rest of history, right?
No, Miami found, and Joe knows this, Miami found a new way to surprise me because the week before that loss to Georgia Tech and the way that it happened, and I don't care what Al Riveron said. I don't care if there's a debate as to whether or not the fumble was indisputable, blah, blah, blah.
Y'all are embarrassing yourselves with that. I'm sorry. Apologies.
You got the octolateral. Take it. This was the karma for the octolateral. So stop it when it comes to that. But what I said last week about Miami was, man, this is a really weird season where the Hurricanes actually look low-key pretty good.
They are under the radar.
And not a soul was talking about them.
That's the thing.
And they found a way to put themselves on the radar in the most Miami way possible. Congratulations.
They just couldn't take it anymore. They're like, please pay attention to us.
Which, by the way, I know somebody had sent me some clips from the Le Batard show saying oh, this is the worst loss in Miami history. No,
it's
not.
No.
FIU.
No,
FIU was bad.
No, the Ohio State championship, I would argue, because
Was that the worst loss?
That was robbed from them.
Okay,
that was
okay.
absolutely stolen
I'm talking.
from
I'm
them.
talking about the FIU
We're talking
low
about like
point.
embarrassing.
Like embarrassing.
Oh yeah, different.
That's
different.
a low point
but
at the Orange Bowl.
And
with the
everyone
fight,
was
all
watching
stuff.
that too.
Yeah,
so
man.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I was like, which FIU one? Or was it? What was the team that beat them with their old kicker recently? That was
geez.
FIU, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was the case.
With their old kicker who throat slashed them, hitting the game winner at home against them. Like this is what I'm saying. When Miami loses, they don't just lose. Like they get embarrassed
Yeah,
in
they get
public. Like, and this is so bad. And that's the thing is they gave us no indication this was coming. So like you couldn't even look at the Georgia Tech game and go, yeah, this is a real danger spot for Miami here. You couldn't. They took care. They've been beating everyone by double digits, including A&M at home. They have not looked pedestrian. They were third in the country in yards per play entering the game last week. And they moved the ball on offense. They just kept turning it over. So that really wasn't the issue. But it's just like, why are you like this, Miami? Why? Why are you this way? Why do you do this all the time? Why have you been absolute trash, essentially, comparatively speaking, since joining the ACC? Like, they should have kept the receipt, honestly.
It's too late now.
Is there a warranty? What's the warranty?
We're past the 90 days.
To be fair, they should have exchanged, like, when some of this started happening. I don't know, circa
fair.
2007 or so.
This is a perfect gambling game. Because
Oh,
everyone
God,
is-
I wouldn't go near this, though.
but I'm saying this is a perfect gambling spot
Okay.
in this sense.
Okay.
Carolina just looked awesome against Syracuse.
Good Lord,
they
right?
looked great, right?
It was
At
unreal.
home, Drake May slinging that thing around. We finally have Jerry Rice Part 2 on the field. My gosh, the fully formed Voltron's coming,
Yeah.
right? Miami loses in the dumbest single possible way.
Yeah, no, you're right. I agree with you.
Not only
on this.
taking
It's not the
taking a
fumble.
knee, not only not
the
taking a
second,
knee,
the second freaking play.
but the guy running free.
I know.
It was like, are you Chuckamottoing this thing
the
right now?
dumbest
Are you
thing.
playing press coverage on 3rd and 24? What are you doing?
You people.
Why are you so wide open?
And-
So it was like, so now everyone's going to be like, oh, Carolina's hot. Miami's
No,
stupid.
you're 100% right.
And
Yes.
the number that I'm looking at here is Miami's rushing offense.
Yep.
Miami leads the ACC. They're the number 1 team in the ACC in rushing.
Yep.
Number 13 in the country in running the football.
Yes.
And traditionally,
If they
the
can
way
do that in
to
that game,
beat
yeah.
Carolina
100%.
is to run the football
Yeah.
on them. So this becomes the next test,
Yes,
right? Because App
100%.
State did run the ball. Minnesota, I did not. I thought Carolina responded in that game.
Yeah, they
Agreed.
did.
Like, hey, Minnesota's going to come in here and just try to jam it down your throat.
And
Yeah.
they
And they
responded.
couldn't. And they couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, I think
And here comes Miami. They're going to try to do the same thing in this
Yep.
football game.
that's the key
That's
for
the big test, I think. And now you have it the other way, right? Like, oh my God, you're so bad, Miami.
Well, plus, like,
and
let's
oh,
be
Carolina,
real.
you're
That's the
so
thing.
great.
Exactly. Like, if they watch that football game, they'd have to be like, oh, okay.
So North Carolina's defense is 5th in scoring in the league, in scoring defense. They're 6th in total defense in the league. Most importantly, and this is something that David Hale, of ESPN, pointed out, they're getting off the field on 3rd down. That was something that
Yeah, that's a big thing.
I referenced that
Huge.
last week and earlier in the week, honestly, when I talked about North Carolina's most complete game against Syracuse. And yes, Drake May and the offense is the easy talking point. No, it's the defense
both.
that's
No, it's
getting off
both.
the field.
Yeah.
Now, and I had some people in the YouTube comments act as though I'm saying that North Carolina's defense is this juggernaut. It's
Guys,
not.
no.
All it has to do is
Is
be
be
competent.
okay.
Just be competent defense.
Yeah, and at times they've been competent and sometimes even better than that.
So-
and that's all you can ask for.
Hale pointed this out on Threads. UNC is allowing 1.54 points per drive so far this season. That's their best rate after 5 games since 2012.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay.
been a while. I was going back through to see how often they've held everybody this season. I think below, like, I forget what it was,
Yeah.
below 6 yards of play. It's been a long time since they've done that.
He also pointed out that in terms of time of possession, North Carolina's defense is not being worn out. Again, this is part
Exactly.
about getting off the field.
Fewer plays, I think, helps them a little bit too in general with fewer plays this year.
UNC opponent time of possession was plus 501 in 2022. It's minus 412. And defensive snaps per game in 2022 was 76. And it's 66. And I know.
And there's more depth, I feel like, for them. That's
Yeah.
improved. I think they have more quality depth
Older.
of guys that they
Yes,
exactly that
older
they
up
trust.
front.
Yep.
Chiswick talked about it at his press availability this week, where he's like, yeah, you're trying to limit these guys on the field. So when they need to make a big play, they're
Exactly.
not gas. And again, that was the thing that kind of was the issue for the Tar Heels going forward. But back to what Joe was saying. You know, what's the line on this thing?
It's only 3.5,
Okay.
which
That's like a we don't know line,
home
right?
3. Yeah, I was like,
Coastal Energy? Coastal making a comeback this week?
I mean, unless you could make the case that last week was essentially the Coastal's like grand finale where it like exploded into a supernova of Coastal and just the pieces went flying everywhere because it felt like that kind of.
Maybe that's the case. All right. Joe's got Duke notes apparently.
I do.
State, Duke, 8 o'clock, big prime time. Both these games are at night. 7:30 for the UNC Miami game, 8 o'clock for the Duke NC State game. The blood feud between the Blue Devils and the Wolfpack. Again, this game comes back down to me to see how MJ Morris and this MJ Morris 2.0 does against Duke's defense, which has been excellent this year, and it's going to be a lot different than what we saw on Marshall this past weekend.
At the risk of marginalizing Mike Elko and what he's done.
Oh boy,
here we go. I'm gonna sit back for this one.
I think there's only one way for Duke and Wake Forest to win football games.
Oh, okay. I got you.
The Jim Grove model.
Sure.
Don't beat, and David Cutcliffe.
Don't beat yourself.
Beat yourself.
100%.
Okay.
That's what ended Cutcliffe's tenure essentially, is because they started beating themselves regularly.
So I went and I looked. Here's Duke in the don't beat yourself categories. Sacks allowed, they've only allowed 4 this year.
That's pretty impressive.
Obviously, one of them was damaging.
Considering you played Notre Dame once too, like that's pretty impressive.
And Clemson, by the way.
I mean, dang, when you put when you think about it that way,
their schedule's really, really hard. Turnover margin, they're +3. They're 30th in the country in turnover margin.
Okay, pretty good.
They're 10th in the country in fewest penalties.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't turn the ball over. Protect your quarterback. Don't commit penalties.
It's really that helps you a lot. Special teams as well as the
I was
the fourth one.
The only thing they don't have that Sam Swank swanking out there, dropping it out on there on the field.
Right.
Swank banging those 50-yarders where you're like,
they can't even bang 25-yarders. It feels like
their kicking game is suspect.
They should do tryouts again. We all remember that, right?
That's a low point of Duke football.
I'm just kidding.
So
I'm joking.
So those are the numbers, and then
it could be worse. You could get a guy out of retirement like Clemson.
Retirement.
One of our themes, though, is be good at what you're good at.
Yeah.
Mike Elko is a really good defensive coach. And Duke, right now, 18th in total defense. Again, playing against really good teams. 4th in scoring defense. So this is State has their work cut out for them. Mm-hmm. This is a game that I think comes down to Duke's defensive line, which is their strength.
Yep. And State's
against State's offensive line, which is not their strength. But I saw a lot more out of with Dylan McMahon back on the field against Marshall.
Yeah, I mean, I think, by the way, just so that y'all think that I don't advocate North Carolina schools playing each other out of conference, I was thrilled to see Carolina and Wake do it and would love to see Duke and State do it. This game isn't played enough. It's insane.
Well, thanks to the new schedule.
We're going to have to see a new schedule again.
Well, that's true because of the additions of SMU, Cal,
I mean, it's
Stanford.
They played, once in 10 years or something like that?
Yeah, the pandemic scrambled everything and they finally played. This is the first time they're playing in Durham since 13.
That was
bonkers.
That was 10 years ago. Yeah.
That was like that weird
that was that really gross
Edwards game.
It was Doran's first year.
Yeah. And that team will be honored at this game.
Oh, really?
Yes. So hat tip
to
the Blue Devils.
Yeah, it took me a hot second. I'm like, you don't mean State's team. And then I'm like,
no.
Yeah.
Brandon Mitchell might come back. That's my guy.
No, that Duke team was legit.
All right. Let's get to the game that I'm only bringing this up because of something that I saw on social media. It's Louisville versus Pitt. Now Louisville
versus Pitt. Okay.
Now okay. So a couple things here.
All right.
And we referenced
same premise as Miami and Carolina. One's running hot. One's in the tank.
Louisville is, to get back to the ACC tiebreakers from earlier in the week. Louisville is in position to.
This is a big game.
This is a huge game for them.
Wait a second.
Okay.
Pitt's a common opponent.
This is why I brought it up.
Yes.
For a couple of reasons, but this is one of the reasons why I brought it up because Pitt is a common opponent, and when we talk about ACC tiebreakers, this actually has value. Who would have thought? But it also gets to why Louisville was a preseason favorite in terms of Vegas odds versus what the media saw back in July at ACC kickoff, where nobody was really picking them to win the ACC. But in Vegas, they were like, yeah, man, this actually is a pretty good money team. And again, it all came back to the schedule.
Yes.
And Pitt is entering a really weird mode right now where they have a vase in the football facility.
I wrote a story on this for Uprock Sports.
Nice.
Since apparently my beat now is lowercase go ACC.
You know what? You were born for that beat, Lauren. But I'm putting it up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Somebody in the facilities shop had to create a pedestal, paint it Pitt blue and yellow,
which is a
top,
really nice
lovely
color scheme.
I love that color scheme.
It looks great.
And they got a blue vase that matches the base itself, and apparently it is a place in which players should put negative thoughts.
Oh, and put it in the vase.
Put it in the vase.
There's no lid on the vase. It looks vaguely like an urn without a lid to me as
Yeah.
well.
It
Which
look-
I'm
no,
like,
no.
because I'm like, is that the metaphor? You
no.
put the thoughts in there and you set them on fire because
they-
they're supposed to be already have been on fire.
They
before.
literally
Never
went
mind.
to Home Goods and got the first thing that was of a blue
They hit up
scheme.
Steinmart,
It's an
found that
apoca-
cute.
It's an apothecary.
No, I'm pretty convinced they went to freaking Home Goods or Target.
Stop it.
And they were like, yeah, that's close enough blue. All right, can we put that on a little pedestal?
It matches
Cool.
pretty well.
It matches
Somebody did a
pretty
great
damn well.
job. Yeah.
Matches- I mean, they did a really good job coloring that. But again, that's the current state of Pitt athletics
But
for
you
football.
know I love
A-
Narduzzi.
A negative thoughts face?
You know I love Narduzzi, though, because A,
Yeah.
he hates Matt Canada and he badmouths him at every turn. And B, he was like, oh, you sound like a State fan. Just go beat Clemson. No big deal.
He's so like not a coach in the way he acts in general. I
Yeah.
feel like he also is like a psycho on the sidelines
Yeah.
regularly. He is an insane person.
He's going to take the Michigan State job, isn't
Are
he?
they putting stuff in
Probably.
there? Do you think? Do you think anyone is like
It
writing?
looked empty. When of the picture that I put up,
Do you
it
think
looks empty.
Phil Dracovic like changed his handwriting and was like, "Coach tried to move me to tight end, and embarrassed me in public."
Huh, who could have written that one? I have no idea.
And it's from like Bill. Never mind, Murkovic. I don't know.
So this is the common opponent factors into the tiebreaker, right?
Yes.
Because I know you wrote all this stuff
And
down.
Yeah,
it would
yeah.
be super Pitt-ish to have looked like absolute trash and not have beaten an FBS
Is this-
team yet
is
and
this-
go, let's just go ahead and beat Louisville.
Is this Pitt super weapon? Is it going to activate this
I
week?
mean, I don't know that they have it anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
The crazy thing about Louisville is when you look at their schedule, which we did in the preseason.
Not great.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
we did. And then they opened up with Georgia Tech. And to be fair now, Georgia Tech did come back and did actually beat Miami.
Georgia Tech's led a number of good teams at the half.
Yeah.
And
So they're not a bad. But when they struggled with Georgia Tech, I
Yeah.
kind of wrote off Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I saw them in person, I was kind of like, God, these guys aren't good. Like Jack Plummer is like, he's just like a replacement level quarterback. Like
Right.
I'm not seeing it. And then all of a sudden, at home, what do
Yeah.
I love to tell you? Everybody plays the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
They get home, they're at
Totally.
night. Jawar Jordan looked like,
Yeah.
looked like he was about to win the Heisman Trophy. Like he had a game.
He's been good all year, though. To be fair.
has,
He's been
and
really good.
They beat Notre Dame at their own game.
Totally.
But now you start looking at this though. Pitt, there are 2 road games after Pitt and Miami. They could lose either one of those games. Don't get me wrong, but Duke. Then they get VT and Virginia at home.
Yeah.
Like
Ugh.
guys, if they could nut up this week, and if Riley Leonard isn't healthy and they don't play Duke,
I
they don't
think
play
Riley-
Riley Leonard.
I think Riley Leonard comes back at the end of the month.
I mean, October 20th. High ankle sprain is not,
Oh,
outside.
it's not? I thought you just come back after a week, though. So
it's
okay.
Does
He should be
for-
fine. He'll be back this week.
It does
He'll
for
be
Bryce
back.
Young. It
Right?
works for Bryce Young.
Sure.
It's fine.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Their schedule is a dream.
Yeah, no,
A
it's amazing.
dream.
Yeah, it's actually unreal because I remember hearing that it was easy, and then I remember looking at it in the offseason and going, "Oh gosh."
Oh, then you looked at it, you're like, no, State's good and Pitt's good.
And then the year starts, and you're like, "Wow!" So it's
No.
even easier than we thought. It's crazy.
All right, let's go wrap it up for premature evaluations. Lauren, we spared you. Didn't have to talk about the Panthers, although you snuck it in there at the end.
Well, I always have to. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't want anyone to forget that we all understand that we were lied to
Yeah.
and that we're not stupid.
Yeah,
Just in case there's any confusion, because
We-
there seems to be coming from the
Yes.
Panthers that they think we're all really stupid. We're not.
We talked to Kyle Bailey, FNZ, at the beginning of this podcast, and he's like, yeah, messaging has been a complete disaster. Complete
Absolutely.
disaster.
Okay. I'm glad we're all on the same page
No,
on
I
that,
think
at least.
we
Yeah.
are all on the same page.
I mean, like,
the same could not
Panthers
be
media collectively.
the same could not be said about the Panthers,
Obviously.
because Frank Reich's out here just self-owning himself
Oh my God.
with the comments.
I
he
never
made
thought
about
I'd
David
want
Tepper.
someone to speak less than Matt Rule.
Oh, Frank! Hey, man, I've been on
Like,
this
I'd
from the
rather
jump.
have him coaching if I have to choose between the two, but I would much rather, my gosh.
If there's any lessons that I've learned from Joe is to promote your wins. And from the jump, I've said about Frank Reich in that he, while not the bumbling Matt Rule talking a mile a minute, will say
he says things that are completely nonsensical.
that make you go, "What? Whoa! Why are you saying that out loud? I would not admit that right now. What are you doing?
Are we talking off the record?
Yeah, oh, crap! Oh, Joe Person's here. Damn it! Ugh, here I go again.
Yeah.
Those cameras are on?
All right, Lauren. We'll see you next Thursday.
All right.
Always fun hanging out with Lauren Brownlow, and always fun to save money, Joe. And that's where Matt Davis over at State Farm can help you. Give him a call at 919-779-8277 or insuregarner.com. I've been a State Farm customer for years, decades, actually. Always great customer service. And with Matt Davis, you'll find ways to save you money.
Yeah, just give him a call. So Troy did. Save 40%. Auto, home, you name it. Matt's got you covered. TheOGinsurance.com.
Also, big thanks to Home Field Apparel. Check them out online at homefieldapparel.com. Use the promo code OG23. Save 15% off your first order. I saw you rocking the Pirates hoodie when you walked in earlier.
Yep. It's
a comfy hoodie, right?
Best quality stuff. Home Field Apparel. Get the app. Even if I know the app, anybody can do the app. OG23, 15% off, then you get all kinds of discounts after that first. They get you on that first.
Yeah, man. They get there that first time. So again, check them out, homefieldapparel.com. And check out Oakwood Pizza Box. They sponsor Hey Joe. It's Thursday. They're open.
Wednesday through Sunday. OakwoodPizzaBox.com. Order online. Go and get yourself a Narragansett. Chill out. Have the best pizza there is in the state of North Carolina.
All right, so there's been some reaction to our conversation with Tom Dundon, owner of the Carolina Hurricanes. And I guess I didn't do a good enough job promoting the fact that we're doing the show from a beer cave. And people were very confused. Is he coming to us live from a gas station beer cave? Yes, and it's not just a gas station.
Whoa, that's a breeze through.
And then this one guy's like, what's going on here? Are you on a Circle K? No, put some respect on the breeze through. It is not the same thing, folks. It is not the same thing. But we did get some reaction just related to what owner does this. That one does. Straight up. That one does. So again, we appreciate Tom Dundon for hanging out. And we'll get out of here on this from my guy, the Canes ombudsman. I love when clips from sports shows are on my timeline. They're all just film podcasts now. So it's like 2.5 minutes of one guy talking and two other dudes smirking and nodding, all on mute. Shout out to Pails and Pills and C. Why do you got to take shots at Joe Ovies and Joe Giglio like that? I think I know who the Bud Man is referencing, and it's not us, Joe.
Oh, good.
You know, we need an AJ Hawk on our program. That's what we need.
And then he's the new Ed McMahon, is what you're saying.
Look, man, I'm not knocking anyone's hustle. I mean, Pat McAfee's nailed something. He's making a shit ton of money off of it. So I'm not knocking it. But I do wonder sometimes what AJ Hawk is doing other than smoking a cigar in a second screen. You know, this is what I want you to do. I'll wear a tank top. But you don't smoke.
No, we got to do our own things,
But
sir.
you don't smoke. So what would you do?
Got to do our own thing.
So what would you? Okay, so I'll wear a Hawaiian shirt, and you can just smirk and nod while you're looking at, I don't know, a racing forum.
Yeah, could do that.
And every so often, just kind of go, sure, why not? Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for the week. Thanks to everybody who has watched, who has listened, given us 5 stars, left reviews, all that fun stuff. We truly appreciate it. And we will see you all next week.